Right, so you want to make your own bowstrings. You're going to need a couple of things to do this. We're going to be making the Flemish twist knot. You'll want some beeswax. You'll want a luggage scale. You might want some linen thread for the very end as an optional task. And you want your authentic thread. We've got a couple of things that we can go for this. Realistically, I think people would have used whatever they could come by. You'd probably have tendon strings, you'd probably have nettle strings as well. Right now, I only have access to linen and hemp. Linen, I've tried using dressmaker's linen and like for thread, not for thread, but for clothes making, didn't work out very well. It will work, it won't work for long. What's done me a lot better is leather making, leather sewing linen. This is just a bit thicker, it's a bit more hard wearing, so it works quite well. Honestly, I could probably get the same with just a few more passes of this thinner linen, but this thicker stuff works really well for me. Well, with the one string I've made with it. This is just from Hertz fabric. Yeah, works well enough. What I usually use is hemp, and it's what I'm going to be using today. I picked this up from B&Q from the garden section, but you can go for like buy hemp specifically online. It's going to be a bit pricier. Realistically, you could probably use jute as well, but I'd test out the strength. Well, you're going to have to test out the strength with every arrow bow you make, just because you can never be certain. But jute looks similar enough to hemp that no one's really going to notice. But yeah, here's how you make a Flemish twist knot. Okay, once you have chosen your material, you need to know how strong it's going to be. What you'll need for that is the material that you are using. I've got jute and I've got a knot tied in either end if I can nab it. So 1 and 2. And you'll need some sort of way to weigh the force. You can use a Newton meter. I've just got a standard, what's the bloody word? Luggage measurement. Weigher, scale. That's the word, luggage scale. So what we do is tie loops in both ends. I've already done it. Loop it round something like a doorknob so you can tug on it. And go through the other end with your scale. You can just about see that. And you just want to pull until you're about at breaking point. This will get me to about £15, possibly 17 before it goes. Oh, there we go. Yep. Broke at £15. So, because I'm making a string for a £25 bow, I know that I would need at least 3 loops. But to keep it all even, I'll make it 4 loops. That means it's more than strong enough for what I'm doing. And it will keep together. I've made them going to just about the limit before, but that wasn't ideal. So I'd say round up to the next strength. Right, when you're making a bowstring, you need to have 2 bits of information. Firstly, the strength of the bow. We're working with £25 bows, so 25 lbs bow. Then you need to know the breaking strength of your string. For us, that's £13. Best way to figure it out is to take the 25 and divide it by 13, and that leaves you with 1.9 something, slightly under 2 strands. So we'll round that up to 2 strands total. This would be the absolute bare minimum, but because your string could break and you could have weak points in that string, I like to take up to the next step. So we'll say 4 strands. Now, say we have a £2 breaking string. That's quite similar to what it is for my leather stitching string. So £2 with our £25 bow, we'll have it 25 over 2, and that will leave us with 12.5. Now, you could round that up to 13, but then you'd have an uneven number of strands on either side of your string. We want that to be even, so we'd round it up again to 14 strands. And then remember, because we're reinforcing the string, making sure it's not the absolute bare minimum, we'll make it 16 strands. That means you'll have 8 strands on one side of your string and 8 strands on the other. And technically, this string would stand up to 16 times 2, which is 32 pounds. Okay, so our £25 bow will be absolutely fine with that £32 string. Okay, once you have got the number of layers of material that you need to make your bowstring, you'll want to know how long your original length will need to be. I would do this by, you can stand at the end of your bow and take one step further. For me, that is conveniently between my 2 doorknobs, one and my second. That will be more than enough for what I am doing. You can do it in a number of ways, just have an idea of how long it is. I know that when I do it, if I go 2 full arm spans, that should be more than enough. But going to the end of your bow and doing an extra step and having a stake between your foot and the start of the bow, that'll be enough. Once you've done that, you want to get the end of your string, tie around one knot. It can be a very loose knot, can be a bit tighter. Either way works. Yeah. I tend to just do a double knot to keep it in place. And you'll run it over. Alright, now you can see you've got 4 layers of string, 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom. Next we're going to wax it all to make sure it stays together. Once it's all waxed up, you just gotta cut the ends off and separate into 2 equal lengths. Now we've got 4 strings of roughly equal length that have been waxed together. Alright then, now that we have got our lengths, we'll give both ends a bit of a wax. Around where we're going to have them cross over. Ugh. There we go. So the beeswax is all just to keep the fibres sticking together, makes your job a little bit easier. You can do this with fletching as well if you're not using a jig. It'll keep your flights from slipping around as much. It's just a good tip that I got from Hodson a while back. So we're going to make the first loop in our Flemish twist bowstring. It's going to fit around one end and it's going to be made to size basically. Yeah. So we'll take, you can go about 9 inches. I'll go for handspan either side. Yeah, that's about right. A lot of this is guesswork and you might need to redo it a couple of times. Eventually you do get a sense of what you're working with, but we'll go about half a thumb's length down to the first knuckle, and we'll start the twist. The way we do this is by twisting away from your body and then over, and just keep doing that. Twist away and over, all the way until you have enough to fit over your bow. For me, this looks like it might be, again, about maybe a full thumb's length, but we'll see what it looks like in the end. So yeah, remember, twist away from yourself, flip under, and repeat with the opposite string. To do this, this is what gets you the twist that binds it together. The idea is that the string's twist will help it bite into itself, basically. It's what keeps it in place. So I don't think you'd even strictly need wax to do this. It just makes life a hell of a lot easier. Alright, that might be about enough. So we'll check it against the bow itself. Oh yeah, that fits over nicely. Oh, that's probably more than I need, actually. Yeah, well more than I need. We'll undo a little bit of this end and reassess that. Made your loop, and again go over that. That's much nicer, a bit tighter. The knocks on this one are huge, so it's always going to look a little bit weird. But now we've got the start of our loop. You'll take these 2 unfettered ends and cross them over each other, so this taps to there, and you'll have these 2 together. And then just repeat the process until the string is, well, seemingly one. You'll take those two ends, twist them together, flip over, twist, and flick. God, where's both my ends? Twist, flick. If you want, you can add a bit more wax just to keep it all together. I'll put mine. It's like, it is always a case of more wax the better. That will keep it staying in one piece. As you twist more and more, the string will start to thin out a tad, and the ends will be brought into the twist of the loop itself. Right, once you've gotten to this point, you can congratulate yourself. You have started a Flemish twist bogus knot. Well, not a bogus knot, but a Flemish twist bowstring. That will stay in place quite happily without any extra, and as you can see, fits quite happily over your bow knocks. Again, massive knocks on this one. I don't know who made it. But it terrifies me, I'll be honest. Like that's nothing. Next thing to do is to start your end, the far end of your string. So you've got your Flemish twist loop starting at the top over your knock, and now measure, well, starts twisting again. I like to just pull it over the knot, pull it to the end, and then go about 8 inches up the string. And then I'll start beeswaxing it again. Right, now we've got our pinch where we're going to finish off the knot tying. We're just going to wax it up again and put it onto the very end. If you've got a better idea of how long you'll need your end string to be, you can stop a bit earlier, but honestly, it gets your fingers used to it, and especially when you're making your first few strings, getting used to the rhythm of it is quite nice. So again, Flemish twist, you turn away from yourself and then you flick over. Keep doing that all the way to the end. Right, now that I've got about an arm's length fully tied up and spun, twisted, you might say, you want to go to the end and just do a standard knot, just something to tie that end together and keep it from coming apart. After this is where the fun stuff happens. Well, now that we've spent maybe half an hour making your string, Okay, once you've got your string tied off, you can just slip one end over the knock and run it all the way down to the far side. Most of you will have seen how long a string is before, and if you've got a Dacron string, you'll probably know exactly how long it needs to be. I like to go for about a fist's length. We'll go to that point. And now we make a bow's knot. Do that by taking your string, you flip it over at that point, and then you take the tail and pass it over itself. Once that's happened, you pass it through the loop twice, not thrice even. Honestly, twice does work, but a third loop means it's more secure. You can take this side of the knock down, and when you put it on this side of the knock, you can tighten that up and it will stay in place. Lovely. So have a look at where I've tied that. Comes to there. So when I knock it, that's a pretty shallow knot. So I'll take that off again and I'll shorten the string by twisting it. Now you want it to twist with the same direction as your Flemish twist. So you'd be going the same way the whole time. I like to double check by just twisting one way by pinching it. You should be able to tell because it gets tighter. That's the direction you want to twist to make your entire string tighter. Give it a couple twirls all along. You can readjust by twisting and untwisting. It's a really easy way to do this once you've got your string slightly too loose. Tighten up again. Now this time you'll see that doesn't seem as good. Knock it again. About the same that time. Do it again. Give it a couple more spins. See, as well, the more you spin the string, the more it will tighten in on itself. So, over the knock again. Give it a good pull. Have a look at how far up it is this side. Yeah, that's a little bit more. You've got a knock fist in there. Yeah, that's much better. You can keep going. I like to have it all the way up to my thumb, but you can stop whenever you'd like. Once you've done that, you'll need to give it a couple of pulls to make sure it is as tight as you'd like it to be, because as the string settles, it will start to loosen itself. And yeah, it will stretch out, the fibers get tighter, but once you're at that point, you're smooth sailing. And then at the very end, you'll want to run some beeswax over the entire string again. You'll have to give your string some beeswax every now and then. Regardless, it lubes it up, means you're less likely to actually break the string. Oh yeah, that looks a lot better. That's about 6 inches away from the knock. Maybe too much. Yeah, this time I'm just unwinding it. Yeah, bit more than a fist. Oh yeah, that's perfect, isn't it? Right in the middle of my knuckle. Again, I like to have it sit at the top of my knuckle, but top of my thumb even, but I'm making this for someone else. So again, technically, you could be quite happy with your bow there and leave it as that. Right, technically you could shoot your bow now, but I like to do this to make sure it's a little bit easier to find the centre of my bow where I'm going to be firing from, especially when I'm handing it out to freshers. I figured out that this point right here is the exact centre of my bow, so I'm going to go about an inch up and then maybe an inch down as well. And between these, I'm going to put some binding on. That will just reinforce this part of the bow where I'm going to be shooting and make it a bit clearer that's where everything's going on. I do this by taking the tail of some linen thread, running it across the string, and then same way you would with an arrow, you just bind over it to lock that in. Now, I know this isn't the way everyone does their fletching and their binding, but it's the way I like to start with my binding and finish it off as well. When you're about a quarter of the way to the end, which is right about there, you want to grab another strand of linen, or just string in general. You can lay that across. Ugh. There are a couple of different ways to finish this off, but this is the way I like to do it. Lay this across and just start layering over that loop. At the end, we're going to, I can't even see, there we go. So, loops the other end, I've started tying it down, and you just keep layering over that loop. At the end, we're going to pull the string through that loop, and it will knot itself down. Just make sure it stays out of the way. Right, now that you've got the entire thing, well, the entire section you want bound, you can just cut this end off. Do I have a knife somewhere? No. Anyone who does drapery, you didn't see that. Oh my fucking god. Right. You got your loop. You have threaded your string through that loop, hopefully. There you go. So, there you go. Threaded the string through the loop, got these two ends, just pull them tight. Now, usually, good idea to wrap your hand in something when you do that, in case you cut your fingers, it's tad. But, yeah. That was the end of that. Thread has been pulled through, or well enough. That will stay in place until it doesn't. Yeah, like I said, it's the same knot as you'll be using to finish any of your fletching. And if you're making bows, bowstrings, I expect you'd be doing your own fletching too. Right.